Hey everybody, welcome back to Diesel Creek. My name's Matt. This little blue beauty right here is my 1964 Jeep CJ5. Now if you haven't seen the playlist on this little Jeep, I'll leave a link to it down in the description, but it was a good one. We found this thing sitting in a barn where it had been sitting for Lord only knows how long, but decades, and the engine was stuck. It was in pretty rough shape, but as you can see, we got it running and driving. We've been driving around the farm here. I think I've owned this thing for 2 years now, but it's still not road ready, and today we aim to fix that. It's coming into that beautiful time of year where it'd be a good time to be cruising around in this thing, and I am ready. I want to get this thing done and on the road. So let's go pull this thing in the shop and knock out the last little bit of stuff we need to do to make this thing ready to roll. So it runs, it drives, it stops. Matt, what more could you need for a road legal vehicle? Well, if it were up to me, that would be all that was required for a functioning road legal vehicle. But here in the state of Pennsylvania, they require functioning headlights, taillights, turn signals. I don't think they're gonna like my busted windshield. Also, the speedometer does not work. So we need to correct all those issues along with a few more in this video. Well, it runs, it drives, it stops. Matt, what more could you need in a road legal vehicle? Well, if it were up to me, that would be all that was required for a road legal vehicle. But here in the state of Pennsylvania, they require pesky little details like functioning headlights, taillights, turn signals. They don't like broken windshields. They want your speedometer to work, the horn to work, bunch of little pesky things. Hopefully by the end of this video, we have a nice little cruiser Jeep on our hands, and I'm gonna be pretty excited about this thing. Great little parts runner. All right, so the poor little CJ5 here, as you can see, well, I hope you guys can see, it's kind of leaning a little bit to the driver's side there. Here's a shot from the backside, maybe you can see it a little bit better, but I remember when we were working on the brake system in a previous video, I noticed there was a couple broken leaf springs in the packs. So I went ahead and ordered a brand new set of leaf springs all the way around, and we should have shocks, spring hangers, hardware, all that stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and get that thrown on today. That should be the last major hurdle we have before we can get this thing on the road. All right, it's been a while since I even ordered this stuff. I kind of forgot what all I ordered. We have a speedometer cable because the speedometer is not working. And what else? We got some spring hangers here. Looks like a bunch of U-bolts. And nuts and bolts on all four shocks, as Johnny Cash would say. I don't think this is going to be a very difficult job. This is all pretty small hardware, nothing to really fight you too awful bad. So let's go ahead and rip into this thing. Old school reverse threaded, I forgot. Yeah, I reckon our shocks have seen some better days, huh? Yep, things ain't much better on this side. All right, the more I'm looking at all this hardware down here and completely rusted over it is, I don't think it's even worth messing around with trying to break all this stuff loose. It's really only a couple nips of the torch away from just falling off there, and then we have all new hardware with our spring kit here. We are currently torching a bolt directly below the fuel tank. I'm sure that's not a problem at all. There we go. They got some tension on them. They just pop like that. Whoa. Oh, I should have looked at that better. I thought the shock was to the axle like modern vehicles. I didn't even pay attention to that. The shock is to the spring hanger on this thing. Whoops! I was counting on the shock to hold that axle from swaying. No matter, we'll jack up the other side and put her right back down. This thing's in there. Wowzers. Moved a little bit. Unreal. Maybe this one will oblige. That's how it's supposed to work. There we go. Boy, this is not the way to do this. See why we're replacing these? That's not supposed to happen. Yeah, buddy. Boy, these things are all shattered up. There we go. Good Lord. That's the first thing that's come off easy. Would you believe these shocks still kind of work a little bit? They're not nearly as blown out as I thought they were. That's impressive. Get you a better look at this spring pack out here. I'm not sure how well you guys can see on camera, but this is all cracked all down through here around the center stud, all the way out this way. Basically that top spring is what actually holds your axle in there, and it was just about cracked all the way through. So we still have that rear hanger bolt to get out of that spring holder, but the issue we're having is that the bolt is seized into the rubber and it is just spinning inside of the metal sleeve, which we actually need to drive out of there. So it looks like to me what's happening is the bolt is actually seized into the inner piece of tubing here that you're looking at, and it is just spinning inside of this outer piece of tubing, and then that whole assembly is seized into the hanger bracket. So we need to just work on that, chiseling it out of there. We might have to heat up the outside. Hold your ears, folks. Didn't even need it. I think all we did there, though, was we cooked the rubber, and that's the inner piece. I think we still have a steel liner in there that we have to drive out. Yeah, I think we got her good and hot now. Let that cool off a second and then hit it with the air hammer. Hopefully that sleeve drives right out of there. Hey! Finally got her. That's what we were fighting right there. Alright, for reassembly we're going to go ahead and load that bore up with a bunch of never sees. That way if we ever have to do this again, hopefully it comes out of there a little easier. We don't have to fight it with torches. We could probably drive it in there if we wanted to. The smart thing to do is probably to get a bolt and draw it through there. I said it was a smart thing, I didn't say it was what I was going to do. Probably what I should do though. So we got our new spring here, and we need to drive the bushings into each end of the spring. It's just going real slow. Had to use a bolt to draw that one in. Thought it would tap in, but no such luck. Leave her loosey-goosey until we get the other one hooked up. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Ready for the open road. All right. All right, so we have the brackets and everything on here loosely right now, and to get the alignment right, there's a pin down there and it sets into a hole in the axle. So we need to get it squared up with the other side, put a little tension on it, give it a whack around, and it should all seat in together nicely. Keep her coming. Well, the camera died right before I got everything all aligned there, but a couple whacks with a hammer and a little bit of a impacto-dacto, and that dowel pin went up into the locating hole on the axle, so we should be good to go. Just tighten that up. Alright, so basically all I do when I crank these down, I don't know if it's right or not, but it's the way I do it, is I go evenly from side to side on the U-bolt, and then I kind of snug them up, and once they're snug evenly, I run them down, and I make sure that in the end we have about the same amount of smoke on each bolt, and that the same amount of threads is kind of showing out the bottom. Like I said, don't know if that's really the right way, but it's the way I do it. We're just about done though. Last thing we need to do is stick our shock on. Should be good. This thing's gonna ride like a Cadillac when we're done. And with that, we have 1 out of 4 done. All right, check it out, guys. We got 2 of 4 done so far. That's both the back springs done currently. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to really tell on camera, but look how much higher the back sits than the front now. It was sitting fairly level before. I didn't think to take a measurement and see how much it came up, but I would say that back end has to be up by at least, I don't know, 2 inches. Like, it's considerable. So that's pretty cool. I didn't realize how sacked out those old springs were, but considering how many were broken in the spring pack, it makes sense. Oh. And with that, the suspension is brand new on the old 64 CJ5. There's a good comparison right there of our old clapped out spring pack right next to our new spring pack. Now, it is not lost on me that it looks like the new spring pack has a couple extra leafs in it, but I don't see that being a problem. I think that's probably good. I think this poor old girl probably could have used some heavier leaf springs from the factory, because this particular Jeep was rigged up with a snowplow on it, and that extra weight in the front really takes a toll on the spring packs. It looks like we put a lift kit on just by putting on new springs. That is sweet. This is not a lift kit, I want to clarify that. This was just a factory spring kit. I don't know about you guys, but I am itching to take this thing for a little drive now and see how it handles. It was a little squishy before, and it leaned to the left a little bit, so hoping it feels a lot better now. I don't see any lean to it. I mean, I would hope not after brand new suspension. Apparently that's a known Jeep thing, is all the Jeeps lean to the driver's side just a little bit. So we got a windshield to install. We got a side mirror, because man, driving this thing without any rear view mirrors sucks. Even in just out here on the farm, driving around in the woods and stuff, trying to see trees. Then we got some of these small parts over here from our buddy Clint at CNC Equipment. On my last trip down there, I saw these sitting on one of his shelves, and I said, hey, are those the parts I need for my Jeep? He said they sure are. So I'd rather get them from somebody we know than some other random website. So I got a spare tire holder here, because as you can see, the one that's currently on the Jeep is in great condition. So I got a new one of these we're going to put on. And these guys here are the rubber boots that cover up the main gear shifter, the four-wheel drive, and the transfer case. We'll have some nice new rubbers on those. The original one's missing over here, of course, and this one is just falling apart. I also have a new speedometer cable, so we should have a working idea of how fast we are driving. And let me tell you, I love this thing, but it is not a rocket ship. I don't think we have to worry about breaking the speed limit hardly anywhere. Alright, so apparently I forgot to record a clip for it, but one of the pieces I bought to install here is a new side mirror, and it came relatively unpainted. The lens itself came painted, but the mount was bare metal. So I hit them up with a Scotch-Brite really good, got it cleaned up with some acetone, And we're just going to hit it with some rattle can black here, and that is going to look good enough for who it's for. All right, we'll let that tack up and we'll come back for a second coat probably. So while we're waiting for the paint to dry on the mirror there, I want to start working on getting these screws out so that we can replace these rubber shifter boots. And man, if you guys can see it or not, I don't know, but the screw heads are just gone. They are completely, well, they're probably packed with dirt first and then rusted over, and you can't even tell that they're a Phillips or a straight head or what the heck they are. Hopefully I can work on these a little bit and try to get some of them out, but I'm not super confident on that. Hold your ears. Well, you can at least sort of kind of see the heads now. They are Phillips heads. I'm just going to have to sit here for a while with a little pick and try to get the slots cleared out, and then hopefully we can get them to turn, but I'm pretty skeptical of that. Might have a chance with that one. The other ones here, not feeling so hot about. Ultimately, what it may come down to is I ended up just air chiseling these things off of here and then trying to extract out the remnants of the screw. Or we could also weld a nut on top of them. Decisions. It's not like I'm worried about saving the screws. I just want to get them out of there so I don't booger up the holes that they go into. Well, at least the ones around the main shifter are coming out. See? Good reason I wanted to replace this is because this was all broken up in here on the top of the old boot. And what can happen is you get water down through the shifter hole, ultimately into your transmission, which is not ideal. I don't plan on leaving this vehicle outside hardly ever if I can avoid it, but things happen. Well, I don't know that I would call it a miracle, but I tried getting the vice grips to latch onto one of these button head screws, and amazingly I was able to get a bite on this one. Got it turning now, so we should be able to get that one out at least. 3 more to go. This one over here I cannot get a bite on. These other 2, perhaps. Oh yeah! I'm impressed with myself. There's really not much to bite onto with these screws. They are not sticking up high at all. Luckily, sheet metal screws, as soon as they break loose, they move pretty easy. It's not like normal threads where you gotta fight the thread the whole way. I guess I'm gonna try the old tap them out with a chisel routine, see how that goes. Not much to bite on, nor can't really squeeze my shoulders down in here to get a swing on these things. Hey, we got one. Oh yeah, we got it moving. Sweet. All right, that was the last screw tackled, and with that out of there, it's making me realize another problem that we're going to run into here. To get the new shifter boot down in place, we need to take these balls off the end of the shifter and slide the boot on and then reinstall them. Trouble is, I don't know if you have any experience taking these things off of here. They are stuck on there, and you hate to put a tool on them because you just mar them all up. Not to mention, a lot of times that won't even do it anyways. I don't know about these ones specifically, but most of them have like a threaded insert that's kind of fused into this plastic ball head. These might even be Bakelite or something. But if you put a big pair of channel locks on them and try and twist them off of there, a lot of times the insert just spins in the Bakelite, or the whole thing just disintegrates, which I really don't want to do. I like that everything is original on this Jeep. I'm trying to keep it that way. So I started soaking them with some penetrating oil, and I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on them, but I'm not going to go crazy and break anything. All right, so to get these things off of here, I'm going to wrap a glove around here, and hopefully that'll keep us from marring up the knob. At the very least, it'll keep me from seeing it until it's too late. Yeah. No, it's just like I figured. They do not want to turn. If anyone has a shot, it's probably the gear shift, but oh, that one turned. Sweet. Beautiful. Nope. We're gonna let those keep soaking. I don't know what else to do. Like I said, I don't really want to tear these things up. Got this one coming off. Means we can slip our new shifter boot down. Maybe. Oh yeah. Look how snazzy that looks. Oh, you idiot. It helps if you take the old one off. Worked so hard to get the screws off and then just left the ring on there. That's one cover done, one to go. Finally got the gear shift knob coming off too, so we should be able to slap that one on right now. All right, ready to go. All right, the paint is all dry on our mirror. We just have to zap it on here with a couple screws. Beautiful. Okay, let's turn our attention to this busted old windshield here. If you look close up here, at the weather stripping, the way this weather strip works is you have a main piece of like a channel that engages the window and the window frame, and then you have this little piece that runs down in the center. It's kind of like that stuff that holds in screen on a screen door. And I can kind of peel that out of there, and basically that locks the window into the frame. See? Now we'll just peel that out the whole way around, and I think the window will come out fairly easy after that's all out of there. I've never done this before, but we're just out here winging it. I remember when I ordered the windshield, I ordered a new piece of this weather stripping too, and it said it was in stock, and then I got an email a couple days later saying it was not in stock, and I don't know if we have it currently. I don't know if it ever showed up. So we might end up having to reuse the old stuff, which, well, up until I said that, wouldn't have been too bad because this was all in one piece and coming out pretty nice. There we go. So that's all the locking strip removed. Now I guess I'm just going to go around here and try to work the weather stripping free from the frame. Rubber has a way of kind of getting stuck to whatever it's up against for a long period of time. There is a split in the rubber down here. We might be able to start pulling it out or something, I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. Looks like the glass will just press out now. Trying to do this without knocking it into 1,000 pieces, but it is safety glass, so it shouldn't. All right. Boy, that stuff's pretty thick. There we go. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. I assure you, I do not. Probably could have just left this in the frame and went ahead and stuck the new glass back in, but let's crack open our package and see if we have new weather stripping or not. Fragile. Must be Italian. Just based upon the number of issues that we have shipping t-shirts and hats all over the planet, I can only imagine the number of issues that the company I bought this from has shipping window glass around the country. I sure won't be happy, but I will be understanding if this is not in one piece when we pull it out of here. Ultimately, I'm sure it was in one piece when it left their facility, and shipping tends to be rough on things, as I have found. I like their effort though. Seems like it's double wrapped. Look at that. Not a crack in it. Although it does feel smaller for some reason. All right, well, I just got off the phone with the company I ordered the glass and the weather stripping from, and unfortunately the weather stripping still has not shipped. So I went ahead and told those people to go ahead and refund me for the weather stripping. I'm gonna go ahead and try my hand at reusing this stuff, and that may or may not be a mistake, but how else are we gonna learn? I should not have pulled it out. I think we should have probably just left well enough alone. All right, how about that? That actually worked out pretty good. Call me safe light, huh? Jokes aside, I think the hard part is yet to come here. Getting the window actually into the molding is gonna be the tough part, I fear. Here goes nothing. Gonna use the hook tool to try to like rope the molding in, but you gotta watch you don't damage the glass in the process here. All right, I got a corner in. I feel like that's a milestone. Actually, looking at the windshield frame, it looks like the windshield frame is tweaked a bit, which probably isn't gonna help our cause. I think if the windshield frame wasn't twisted, the window would probably be already in. But we're not hitting squarely against the rubber right now while I work it in, so I gotta keep taking these little bites at it, and it goes in a little further each time. Probably not ideal for the glass, but the glass is probably gonna wind up being under a little bit of like twisted tension. Just looking at the way the window frame is tweaked, I don't think I would have a prayer at getting it straightened back out. There we go. Glass is all the way in. We just have to work in our keyway now. I'm sure that this is probably going to be proved to be tougher than actually getting the glass in there. Getting the glass in there was not actually that bad. I must say, I am very impressed at how flexible this rubber still is. I have no idea if it's the original rubber or not, but if it is, I am darn impressed that it is still as pliable as it's being right now. It's a bit tougher down here at the bottom. Spraying in some glass cleaner to try to make it easier to work that rubber in. Oh yeah, that's helping. As I push that stuff in by hand, I'm really only tucking in one side of the key. So I gotta go back with a pick and fold in the other side and not scratch my window like I keep trying to do. I did it on the top side over here already, but it is tough to do. There's probably some tool that you would have if you were a glass person that would make this exponentially easier. Of course, I don't have it. All right. Well, I might just be a glass person by the end of this. It's almost like I know what I'm doing here. Look at that. Gonna finish tucking it in now with the pick, and we are home free. There we go. We did it. I actually came up with just about ½ an inch of excess locking strip here. So we should be able to just cut that off, trim it to fit basically. And the way that happens is I probably just stretched it a little bit as I was working it in. So it fit before, and then it got stretched a little bit, and now it's just a little bit too big, but trimmed off nice. Looks like it's gonna tuck right in there. Beautiful. We are done. We have a nice new windshield. All right, how about that? Spick and span. Oh wait, oh, there's a smudge. I've never once cleaned a windshield and thought I was done and actually been done. There's always a smudge to go back and get somewhere. I'm sure you guys can relate. But, man, that looks great. Can't even tell there's a window in that frame now. That's gonna be much nicer for driving. Now that the windshield's done, I wanna turn our attention to the muffler. You can see that nice shiny new one we got. And we're gonna replace this one because it is blown out. So for some good comparison of before and after, I'm gonna fire it up now, let you guys hear it, and then we'll do it again after the muffler's put on. Holy crap. There we go. That sucker was on there. Yeah, I don't think this one was doing a whole lot anymore, huh? One of these is not like the other. Okay, muffler's installed. Let's see what this thing sounds like now. Oh yeah. This thing sounds way better. What do you think, Roscoe? Is the Jeep about done? Well, I think we're getting close. You guys saw we got the mirror mounted, the windshield's on. I did get the lights working. That took some time. Suspension, of course, is done. Rubber boots installed. One of the few things I have left to do is get these seats recovered, and I have reached out to a couple different upholstery shops for this, and man, they are expensive. I'm like $800 and some per seat, which is hard to justify on a Jeep that I only paid $500 for in the first place. Now the upholstery shops are telling me it's going to be so expensive because they have to completely make a pattern from scratch. There is no cover that you can go out and buy, to any of our knowledge. So if you guys know of any place that sells the seat covers for these Jeeps, specifically this type of Jeep, because there are plenty of covers out there, if you search around you can find them, but they don't fit my seats. There's actually plenty of entire seat assemblies I could buy already upholstered with new foam and everything ready to go, which I would love to be able to do, but none of them bolt down the way that mine do. All the ones you find basically are just the actual seat cushion with some bolt holes in the bottom of it, and they don't have any of this framework. The framework on these ones is welded to the chairs and then bolted into the tub. So short of hacking these apart and using the framework to bolt the new seats in, I'm not sure how you're actually supposed to be able to use those, even though the websites that I find them on claim that they will fit CJ5s of this vintage. So any of you Jeep people out there that have a handle on affordable seats, either to buy completely reconditioned, or like I said, if you could buy just the cloth seat cover and then I could take that to the upholstery shop, they could fix it up, make it look nice, better than I could do, I'm sure, for a much more reasonable price. The passenger chair is, you know, there's a little bit of material left they could at least make a pattern from if they're going to do a custom job, but the driver's seat is completely gone. So they'd have to kind of make one pattern for this one and then mirror it, because it is like 95% the same, but I think there are a few little different angles. Basically you have to mirror image the pattern, kind of. So the only thing I didn't put on is the spare tire holder. I took the old one off and it's kind of crappy behind there, kind of rotted. And I don't really like that it sticks out like it does. I also don't have a spare tire that's any good at the moment anyway. I have the rim, the tire that's on it is junk. So kind of going to hold off on putting that on for now, I think. The last thing I want to do before we're ready to take this thing out on the town and have a little cruise is I want to give it a good bath. I've pressure washed it off a couple times, but I've never actually gone at it and cleaned the surface. I mean, you can see it's still extremely dusty and dirty and scudgy looking. So we're going to give it a good hand bath, and then we're going to use some products on it to try to brighten up the paint that's left on it. I know a lot of people think that it should be restored. Really, the Jeep parts are so cheap that instead of trying to fix something like this, you would just replace the fender, and at that point you might as well replace the tub, the fenders, the tailgate. The only thing that's really great on it is the hood. The hood is in pretty good shape, and I guess the front grille. The front grille's pretty nice as well, but everything else, if you really wanted to quote-unquote restore it, it would just be easier to replace it. But me, I like the originality of pieces like this, so I'm going to try to keep what we got going on here. I like that barn fresh look. I just kind of want to brighten up that blue and see what we got underneath all that dirt. I believe this is the first time I've given anything a hand bath out here at the farm. And the hardest part about getting ready to do this was finding a bucket that wasn't covered in oil. I didn't actually have one. I had to clean one. So now this bucket is the designated clean bucket. Gotta make this a quick one though. I can hear some thunder in the distance. Huge difference already, and this is only step one of a multi-step process we're going to use to really make this patina pop. It's a shame somebody carved their names into this thing multiple times. I mean, I guess it kind of adds to the history and the patina of this rig, but I kind of think it would have looked better without their names carved into the hood. I can't even make out what they say. Okay, well, it's the next day. The Jeep is all dried off. I've had a fan blowing on it all night, making sure we get everything good and dry. And you can see there's still a little bit of like dust left on this thing. And the reason that is, I didn't show it, but I went around the whole Jeep as instructed with this kit that I bought to take a light Scotch-Brite pad and go over all the areas that have any kind of oxidation, which in our case was the entire Jeep. But especially bad were those areas that had some rust going on down around the bottoms. I think I wore out 3 of these light gray Scotch-Brites, and I switched it up. In some of the rustier areas, I actually went to a red medium grit Scotch-Brite and just tried to take off the heavy oxidation, get it back down to smooth, and it actually kind of makes the paint pop out better than it was before. So now we need to go around with a prep solvent, wipe that all down, a wax and grease remover kind of thing. Clean the whole Jeep down again with that. Make sure we have all that dust off, because like I said, there's still some dust off. Even though I rinsed it, there's places I missed it. So we'll go over the whole thing with that, make sure the paint is nice and clean, and then we'll be able to apply our patina. Okay, well, it's actually the next day. I've had a big fan blowing on the Jeep all night, making sure that the surface got completely nice and dry. All the little nooks and crannies dried out on this Jeep, so we're not going to let it sit here and rust away even further. What I didn't show you guys yesterday is while I was scrubbing the Jeep, I wasn't just scrubbing it with a sponge. I think that's the only part I recorded, though. I actually went over the entire thing with some very fine Scotch-Brite, and actually in some of the more rustier areas, I went over it with some medium Scotch-Brite. And what that does is kind of knock down the rust, the oxidation, and kind of brings more of the paint back out through the rust. So as you may or may not be able to tell, areas that were rusty before, while they're still rusty, there's a bit more paint showing, I guess, if you will. And it just kind of makes it smoother and knocks down the abrasion. And I rinsed it as best I could, but I knew this was going to happen. Since it's been in here and dried out, you can see there's places where I missed, and you can see that dust, you know, which is basically a little bit of paint, a little bit of oxidation, a little bit of dirt and grime, kind of formed a paste with that Scotch-Brite. So now what I need to do today, now that we're nice and dry, I'm going to go over the whole thing with some of this wax and grease remover. This whole kit that I'm using is from Poppy's Patina. It's my first go with it, but I've heard good things about it, so I'm pretty excited. I think we're going to have a good-looking, all-original, barn-fresh Jeep here when we're done, which I'm a fan of patina, and I think this rig is just suited for it. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the wax and grease remover. We'll get it all wiped down, and then we can actually start putting on the patina protectant coating. Now that the surface is all cleaned up on there, we can go ahead and mix up our wipe-on clear coat here. Mix this up at an 8-to-1 ratio. All right, we'll mix that up a little bit, and it should be good to apply. Now, if I haven't made it abundantly clear already, I've never used this stuff. I have no idea what I'm doing. I did read the directions, which is not something I typically do. But I'm just winging it, and we'll see how this goes. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Hot diggity, guys. Look at the way this thing turned out. I finished up applying this wipe-on clear coat a couple hours ago, and I went out and did some stuff outside. I'm just now coming back in and checking it out, and I am blown away by how good this thing looks. And this is all dry to the touch now. It's not gonna come off. They advertise this stuff as supposed to be lasting years, though it is not a permanent. I can't see why, I mean, unless you're leaving this thing outside, why this wouldn't be nearly permanent. I guess, of course, you could always come back and reapply. It's easy enough to do, as you saw. But I am super thrilled with these results. It really makes this old faded blue pop, just like I wanted. This is perfect. So with the completion of this wipe-on clear coat, I am pretty much done. This vehicle is not designed to be a flashy showpiece, as I think I've made my point clear. I really love the originality of this Jeep, and I think we've got all the cool elements going for it. Being the second owner of it, I'm really trying to just keep it as original as possible. The only thing that I have left that I would still like to do to this thing is, as I mentioned earlier in the video, get these stinking seats recovered, because there is not much left of the driver's seat at all. If you guys have any insights, like I said earlier, as to where I could get some affordable seat covers for these things, you know, the actual original seat skin, not just some generic seat cover. As you can see, we're missing all the cushioning and everything off of here. I think we've even got some broken springs. So these seats definitely need a lot of love, and I am willing to do it, but man, it just seems crazy that we're talking about, you know, $800+ per seat for a jalopy that looks like this at the end of the day. I like it, but it's just hard to justify. Well, guys, I think that pretty much marks the end of this series. All we have left to do now is take this thing for a little drive. There's actually a car show going on tonight. It's on my way home, so I think me and the dog are gonna stop in there, have a little look around, and see what we can see. Anyways, guys, I think this one is finally a wrap. If you guys like this series, be sure to drop a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite part was. If you can't leave a comment, at the very least, hit that thumbs up button down below the video. It really helps out the channel. It doesn't cost you guys a dime. If you'd like to help support the channel in a little more direct way, you can head on over to dieselcreek.com, pick yourself up some sweet swag over at the store. We've got hats, t-shirts, ball caps, all kind of stuff over there at the store. If you hurry, you may even still be able to pick up a 4th of July t-shirt in time for the holiday. So you can use the link down in the description, or just head on over to dieselcreek.com. Me and Penne will be glad you did, but I will catch you guys on the next video. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later. Man, that muffler just makes this thing so much better.